We all do it. We all have the best intentions with following a new diet or a new workout program, but then life throws a curveball, or we just need to take a break. And then it feels like it's 10 times harder to start over. So today, I want to share 5 simple tips to help you get back on track and get motivated to keep moving forward.
Welcome to the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast, where we help you live your best life while working on your health and fitness goals. We're here to make your journey fun and inspiring.
What's going on, everybody? Vince Sant here, co-founder of V-Shred, and I'm super excited to have you here on the latest episode of the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast. After working with thousands of people who are going through a weight loss journey with us, we've found that a lot of people backtrack, or they just fall off track at some point. And sometimes it happens just a few weeks in, sometimes it takes a few months, sometimes it happens a few days in. But it's important to remember that no matter what type of setback you're dealing with, all you need to do is focus on getting back on track and keep moving forward. Don't let one setback or a few setbacks derail everything, okay? So today, I'm going to share 5 easy ways you can do exactly that. So tip number 1 is to focus on one thing only for a few days. So what does that mean, Vince? What that means is stop thinking that you have to do everything and you have to do everything perfectly. Because what that's going to do is, if you think that you have to do everything, because fact of the matter is there is a lot to do when you want to get optimal results when it comes to getting in shape, right? There's obviously ways of cutting corners and there's ways of not getting as good of results. But if you're looking to get optimal results, if you're looking to get results as fast as possible, which most of us are because we're all impatient, then there's a lot to do, right? You have to make sure that your calories are correct. Make sure that your macros are correct. Make sure that the foods that you're actually eating are correct. Make sure that you're meal prepping on the days that you should be meal prepping. Making sure that you're not giving into temptation with your diet, making sure that you're getting your workouts done, making sure that your workouts are the proper style of workouts that you should be doing for what your specific goals are, making sure that you're drinking enough water, making sure that you're getting enough sleep, making sure that your supplementation routine is correct. There's a lot to focus on, right? And that's just a couple of them, right? But it can be very overwhelming to focus on all of that at once. So instead, I don't want you to focus on all of that at once. Instead, what I want you to do is I want you to focus on one of those things, right? And no, focusing on one of those things is not going to be the optimal way to get in shape, right? But what it's going to do, the whole point of this episode is to help you get back on track, right? It's not to help you lose weight as fast as possible. We'll get to that later, right? Right now, we're concerned that you're not doing anything. So instead of not doing anything at all, what we should focus on is doing one thing really well, because it's really easy to do one thing. It's kind of tough to do a bunch of things, right? And so whether that's focusing on one workout, one meal, one full day of following your plan, it doesn't matter what it is. Generally, I would probably recommend making it something nutrition-based, because nutrition is generally going to be the hardest aspect of getting in shape for most people. But I mean, it can be anything related to your workouts or your hydration or your sleep. I would stay in those 4 categories, those 4 buckets right there: nutrition, workouts, hydration, sleep. If instead of focusing on everything that you have to do, you focus on one of those things, and let's say you're going to do nutrition. Today, you focus on meal prepping. That's all you want to accomplish today. Everything else is just your business as usual, right? It's your normal life, your normal routine. But all you're adding to today is you're going to meal prep. So when you do get that meal prep done, what's going to happen? Well, first off, you're going to feel really good about yourself. You're going to feel really good that you actually did what you told yourself you were going to do. Second off, you're going to have all these meals, and you're not going to want those meals to go to waste. And so what's going to happen is you're probably going to eat one that day. I mean, you should eat one that day. And then you might eat one the next day. And you might eat one the next day. And before you know it, now all of a sudden you've replaced one of your meals each day with a meal that was healthy for you, that you cooked, that you meal prepped. And every single time you eat one of those meals that you prepped, it is a rush of happy chemicals in your brain because you did something good, right? It's that positive feedback that you get from doing something that you should be doing. Right? We all get that rush of happy chemicals when we do something that isn't necessarily the easiest to do, but we did it anyways, right? And it's going to be a lot easier to do that one thing when it is only one thing, as opposed to when it is a dozen things, right? Same thing with your workouts. If you focus on one workout today, how much easier is that than to tell yourself that you have to work out 5 times this week? That can be a little overwhelming, as opposed to going, today, I'm going to get home from work and I'm going to do a 20-minute HIIT workout in my living room. Everybody has time for that. Everybody has a spare 20 minutes in their day. I don't care if you have to wake up 20 minutes earlier. I don't care if you have to go to bed 20 minutes later. I don't care if it's during your favorite TV show. It's football season right now, depending on when you're listening to this. It's football season. Watch it. Do a HIIT workout during the game. You can do a whole HIIT workout before halftime is over, right? You can do a whole HIIT workout before a 30-minute TV show is over. Pop on your favorite TV show and do a little workout. And if you focus on doing that one workout today, that is going to make you feel good. And that is going to help you start building that momentum. It will ease you in to all the other things that eventually you can focus on. Because if today you focus on that one workout, tomorrow focus on that meal prep. Or if today you focus on that meal prep, tomorrow focus on that one workout and stack the wins. If you can focus on one thing for a few days, all of a sudden you're going to look up and it's not going to be as overwhelming to do everything because you piecemealed it in, right? You didn't attack everything at once. You didn't dive in head first. You dipped your toes in the water. You figured out a way to fit your workout into your routine. You figured out a way to fit meal prepping into your routine. You found some foods that you do like eating. And now all of a sudden that box is checked off. That's no longer undiscovered. That's something that you've done now. You know how to do. And now you can move on to the next thing that might be a little overwhelming. But it's a lot less overwhelming when it's just one thing versus a dozen. So that's the first tip. Focus on one thing for a few days and build momentum, okay? The second thing, I want you to accept that 70% is okay. Because we always talk about here at V-Shred 80-20, the 80-20 rule, right? I've done entire videos about the 80-20 rule. I kind of base my life on the 80-20 rule when it comes to fitness, right? 80%, and what the 80-20 rule is 80% of the time, you do what you're supposed to do. You do the things that are right for your goals, that are aligned with your goals. And then 20% of the time, you live your life. You do the things that you enjoy doing that maybe aren't so aligned with your goals. For me, that means 80% of the time, I enjoy workouts. Workouts I stick to 95% of the time because I enjoy it. I'm addicted to working out. And I can't wait for whoever's listening to this right now. If you're not currently addicted to working out, I look forward to the day that you do become addicted to working out. And I do not want you to laugh at that or think that that's impossible, because I've watched people who have never worked out a day in their life become completely addicted to it. And I know it can happen. You just have to start building that momentum. But in the beginning, what you want to do is you don't want to feel like you have to do it 100% accurate. A lot of times I think people see people who are in really good shape and they go, oh, I could never do that. Well, you don't have to do that immediately. You don't have to work out. I work out 6 days a week. You don't have to work out 6 days a week. You can work out 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 20 minutes a day. That's an hour a week. You have an hour a week to work out. And if you focus on doing that, as opposed to going all in, it's kind of like what we talked about with the first tip. If you dip your toe in the water, as opposed to dive in head first, you're going to learn along the way what works for you and what doesn't work for you. and it's going to be less daunting. It's going to be less overwhelming, and you're going to find it more enjoyable. Right? And like I said, I talk about the 80-20 rule all the time, but sometimes people need to start a little slower than that, and that's totally fine. Now, I'm not saying that you should stick to that 70%, because technically we're talking about a 70-30 as opposed to an 80-20, which means 70% of the time you're doing what you should be doing. 30% of the time you're living your life. You're eating those sweets. You're eating the junk food. You're not working out. You're giving it a temptation. You're doing your thing, right? Nobody should have to give up their life to be in great shape. And you don't have to if you do it the right way, if you follow the 80-20 rule. But starting at the 70-30 rule, the goal is to work your way to that 80-20 rule. And so with that 70%, what that allows you to do is to change your view with what you're doing, right? With your diet, with your workouts, because instead of like, if you wake up and you have a healthy breakfast, right? And then for lunch, you don't have a healthy lunch. You get Chick-fil-A, right? A lot of times what will happen is people will be like, oh, well, I already had an unhealthy lunch, so I'm already off my plan, so I'm just going to eat like crap the rest of the day, and I'm not going to work out today, and I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to get back on it tomorrow, right? Instead of looking at it as you're off your plan now, hey, that's just the 30% right there. That's the beauty of 70-30 and 80-20. The beauty of 80-20 for me is I don't necessarily have specific days that I have to stick to my plan and specific days that I go, I'm going to cheat all day. No, I have a healthy breakfast that I eat pretty much every single day. I have the same shake after my workout every single day. I have a very, very similar lunch before my workout every single day. And then my dinner varies. And then sometimes where my 20% comes in is I'll eat a little bit of candy, or I will, eat some ice cream. I'll order ice cream, or I'll have some Oreos, or whatever it is. My 80-20 is every single day, right? It's not some days are 100 and some days are 0. Every single day, or some days, I guess some days are 100, some days are 0. It's 80-20 every single day. And that's the beauty of 70-30 is when you do have one bad meal, you don't have to look at it as, oh, you're off plan. You have to give up that entire day. No, that was the 30%. Now it's time to finish the day strong. And now we're focused on the 70% the rest of the day. And that allows you to feel, like I said, less. The whole point of this is to be like, the whole reason that people fall off the wagon and they can't get back on the wagon is because they get overwhelmed. So the whole goal here is to stop becoming overwhelmed, stop getting overwhelmed. Right? If you can accept that 70% is okay, you will start making amazing strides with progress, because you will start seeing some things that you saw as taboo before as okay now. Because when you saw them as taboo, you kind of throw in the towel and you go, well, I already messed up, so I might as well just throw in the towel, as opposed to going, well, yeah, that was not a healthy meal. But hey, 70% is still good. And so you go, so my next meal is a different mindset. My next meal, I'm going to make it a healthy meal. I'm going to get right back on it. It's a completely different outlook on your approach to getting in shape and weight loss when you look at it as 70% or the 80-20 rule, as opposed to thinking that you have to go all in. The whole no days off is BS, right? You have to have days. You're going to have days that you weren't as motivated, you weren't as disciplined, and you have to have the mindset of, and that's okay. But then you also have to keep in mind that you want to work your way towards that 80-20 rule. If you're going to start at that 70%, you're going to accept that 70% is okay, which I accept that 70% is okay if you're completely off the wagon, because let me tell you, 70% is way better than 0% or 10%, right? So 70% is amazing. You want to work your way towards 80%. Okay. That's number 2, accepting that 70% is okay. Tip number 3, stop procrastinating the day that you're going to start over. Because this has happened more times than I can count with clients, with family members, with friends. They always say, when do people always say that they're going to start? Tomorrow, right? And then tomorrow comes and what happens? Well, they go, well, I'm going to start on Monday. And then Monday comes and they didn't prepare for it on Sunday. And they go, well, and it's a busy Monday. Work's crazy, right? Well, I'm going to start this weekend. I'm going to start next week. I'm going to meal prep this weekend and I'm going to start next week. And then what happens is that tomorrow turns into never. And it's super common. And you need to stop doing it, because that's going to turn into a cycle that you follow for the rest of your life. And maybe occasionally you do start. Maybe you do start your diet on one of these Mondays, but then what ends up happening is it lasts a couple days and then you fall off and then you go, well, I'm going to get back on it next Monday or this Monday. Or I got a vacation coming up next week. I'm just going to start after I get back from the vacation. This happens more times. If I had a nickel for every time I've heard this happen, I would own the world, right? So instead of procrastinating the day that you're going to start over, what you're going to do is you're going to start right now. Right now. And it's a big mindset shift, a big one. But truth is, it's very, very easy. Because guess what? Starting right now does not mean that you have to eat perfectly and work out super hard right now and do everything, right? It goes back to what are the first two tips we said? Focus on one thing and accept that 70% is okay. Those fit perfectly right here. And so instead of starting on Monday, instead of starting next week, instead of starting after you get back from your vacation, right now, you're going to go get a water and you're going to start drinking more water today. And tonight, you're going to get your dog's leash out and you're going to take your dog on a nice long walk. And when tomorrow rolls around, you're going to know what time tonight, what you're going to do is you're going to prepare for when you're going to work out tomorrow, right? And when tomorrow rolls around, you've already mapped out your day. You already know what your day is going to look like. You know what time you're waking up. You know what time you're going to work. You know what time you're getting home from work. If you're working from home, you know what time you're working out today. And doing each of those small things is going to remove that toxic mindset of, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start Monday, right? Because like I said, tomorrow never comes. Monday never comes. Right? And so instead of doing that, you do what you're capable of doing right now and you start it. So that's drinking the water. That's getting good sleep tonight. That's planning your workout for tomorrow. That's figuring out what your meals are going to look like, right? And like I said, you can start with just that one thing. What's that one thing that you can focus on right now? Okay, well, you're going to start focusing on drinking a gallon of water a day. It's a very easy one. It's hard to remember sometimes, hard to do sometimes, but in the grand scheme of things, much easier than tracking macros and meal prepping and eating the right foods all the time, right? If you start drinking a gallon of water a day, I can almost guarantee that you'll lose a couple pounds over the next couple of weeks just from drinking a gallon of water a day, because your body needs water to function properly. All your digestive system and skeletal system, everything, your body is like over 90% water. You need water. Okay. So figure out what that one thing is, accept the 70% is okay, and start right now. And remember that every deposit, like drinking water, like getting good sleep, like getting that 20-minute workout in, is going to build towards your fitness goal. So they all count. Every single one of them. So stop procrastinating until tomorrow. Start whatever that one thing is right now and accept the 70% is okay. And then tip number 4 is to stop waiting for the perfect time, right? And this relates to really anything, but obviously this is the Better Body, Better Life podcast. And so I'm going to talk about fitness because you could really talk about this with business. You could talk about this with a relationship. You could talk about this with having kids. You could talk about this with buying a house. You could talk about this with anything, right? But with fitness, everybody decides that they're going to wait for the perfect time to get in shape. Guys, there is never going to be a perfect time for you to get in shape because guess what? Life is always going to get in the way. Always. You're going to get busier. Life is going to happen. So instead of waiting for the perfect time and then essentially waiting for forever, you're just going to do this now. You're going to focus on taking action right now because that perfect time is never going to come. Right? It's the same thing as tomorrow. It's the same thing as next week. It's the same thing as when you get back from your vacation. There is never a perfect time to do really anything. And so if you wait for that perfect time, you never do anything. So I want you to really focus on avoiding making the excuse that you need more time to get everything ready, or you need to wait for your life to settle down a little bit before you can focus on your health and your fitness. That is an excuse. That is a mental trap that you are going to find it really, really hard to escape from. Right? So instead of doing that, it goes back to what I said in tip number 1, 2, and 3. These all are linked, right? You're going to focus on what you can do right now. You're going to accept that 70% is okay. You're going to stop procrastinating. You're going to stop waiting for the perfect time. And you're going to take action. And that's something that you need to embody. That can't just be something that I'm sitting here telling you that you need to do. You got to figure out why you want to do this in the first place. Why do you want to get in shape? When was the last time you when you thought about that? Like a real reason you want to get in shape. Everybody wants to lose 20 pounds. But when you're tired and hungry and you got cravings and life is stressful and you don't want to work out, now what's your reasoning for wanting to get in shape? Because I don't think I've ever experienced somebody be able to push through the tough times just because they want to look a little better. It's a deep-rooted reason to why you want to get in shape. And so I want you to channel that reason, and I want you to get started right now. Okay? And then tip number 5, and this is a big one, find or seek out an accountability partner. Just seek out accountability in general. Because accountability is one of the keys to success. You are, put simply, more likely to follow through with something when you are not doing it alone. When you have somebody that you have to answer to, when you have an accountability partner, you are much more likely to do that workout that you didn't want to do every single set that you didn't want to do, to eat the meals that you didn't want to eat, to get the sleep that was tough to get because you had to go to bed much earlier than you were hoping, right? Or you had to wake up much earlier, and so therefore you had to go to bed much earlier, right? But you still needed to get that 7-8 hours of sleep. So if you, whether it's a friend of yours who's going to go to the gym with you and work out, which I think is a phenomenal example. Some of the best workouts that I've ever gotten, some of the best streaks of workouts that I've ever gotten were when I had a workout partner. Now, I personally do prefer to work out alone because my schedule is kind of all over the place, and I don't like the schedule restriction of trying to schedule with somebody else. And I also just like putting in my headphones and kind of zoning out and doing my own thing. But there have been multiple times where I'll have a workout partner for a couple of months and I will get in really good shape. And none of my workouts were ever lacking. We did every single exercise that we said we were going to do. We did every single set. We probably did more reps than we planned to do because we had a spotter there to push us a little bit more. And so there was no negotiation. There was no inner negotiation with myself. You just did what you were supposed to do because you had somebody else there with you. So if you can find a friend to start working out with, amazing. If you can get a family member to start working out with, or just somebody that will help you for a few weeks, or just a fitness buddy to help keep you accountable and hold you accountable to whatever your plans are, it is going to be night and day difference with how easy you find it to actually stick to a plan. And if you don't have a friend to work out with, or a friend to keep you motivated, or a family member or friend to hold you accountable, you're more than welcome to work with one of our coaches who can basically organize all of your plans for you, create your meal plan, create your workout plan, check in with you every single week, someone there for you to ask questions. If you're confused about anything, if you're frustrated with anything, it's just a lot nicer. Because what's also nice about that is when you do have a friend or a family member who's your accountability partner, a lot of times there can be bad advice given back and forth. I've experienced that many times. But with a coach, you don't have to worry about that because it's somebody who's actually qualified to speak from their own knowledge base. They're actually knowledgeable on the topics. And we do have coaches available to help you get back on track and help build that momentum. And we've had thousands of people who have told us that they love how our coaches organize all their meals for them, and they include foods that they never really got to eat before on meal plans or on quote unquote diets. And so if you do feel like you've fallen off the wagon, or you do just need a little bit of extra support, or you do need a little bit of extra accountability, there should be a link in the description below if you want to check out our custom diet coaching plan. But that's really it, guys. I just want you to not look at this as something that is too overwhelming to get started. I don't want you to keep putting this off until tomorrow or next week to get started. I want you to start right now. And between focusing on one thing and accepting that 70% is okay, and stop procrastinating and not waiting for the perfect time, and then also finding an accountability partner, whether that's a friend, a family member, or one of our coaches. If you do those 5 things, you are going to find it much, much, much easier to get back on the wagon and to start seeing those results again. Remember, guys, we're striving for progress here. We're not striving for perfection when it comes to weight loss and getting in shape. So thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast. Again, I'm Vince, and I will see you or talk to you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of V-Shred's Better Body, Better Life podcast. Whether you're doing one of our programs, taking our supplements, or just doing things on your own, tune in every week for exclusive content with Vince, V-Shred trainers, and special guests as they share valuable tips around motivation, workouts, food, and living a healthier lifestyle. See you next time.